Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Basics Made Simple. So today we are going to learn Herzberg two-factor theory. This is one of the most important motivational theory. Here in this theory, Herzberg spoke about just the two factors which had the potential of affecting the motivational level and satisfactional level of the employees. He also said few terms which were in contrast to the traditional view which we always thought exists. So let's begin with the introduction of this theory. Herzberg two factors theory is also called as dual structure theory or motivation hygiene theory. Friedrich Herzberg, a professor of psychology in USA, proposed two-factor theory in 1959. This theory is based on empirical study. So by the word empirical, we mean the outcome of which can be verified by study or experiment. So here, a study was conducted by Friedrich Herzberg on 200 accountants and engineers. These accountants and engineers were interviewed and based on the responses, data was collected and proceeded. So according to Herzberg, there are some job factors at the workplace that resulted in satisfaction, while there are other job factors that prevent dissatisfaction. Thus, the job factors can be classified into two categories, which are namely hygiene factors and motivation factors. Now, when we at first go through the point that things which can result in satisfaction and the factors which can prevent dissatisfaction would appear to be very similar for us. That is, something which can satisfy will obviously prevent dissatisfaction, right? But Herzberg said that these things are completely different. Now, to get a better understanding of what Herzberg meant, and before going into details of hygiene factor and motivational factor, let's first focus on a very important concept given by Herzberg. This is the main concept on which the entire Herzberg two theory lies, and that is about satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Now, this concept of satisfaction and dissatisfaction given by Herzberg was not based on any assumption. Herzberg simply noted down the responses of the respondents when they were asked two questions. The two basic questions which were asked from the respondents were factors that make them feel good at the workplace and the factors that make them feel bad at the workplace. As per traditional view, one would expect that the presence of factors that made a person feel good, absence of those factors will make the same person feel bad. So, if factor A makes a person feel good, then he is satisfied with the factor A. And the absence of the same factor will make the person feel bad or dissatisfied. However, the most interesting outcome from the survey was that the factors that made respondents feel good and satisfied, absence of those factors from the workplace did not make the respondents feel bad or dissatisfied. So, this is what Herzberg said, that it is the concept of satisfaction and dissatisfaction is completely different from the traditional view. Now, let's understand this with the help of an example. An employee, as for example, is dissatisfied because he feels that his salary is not at par with his position and the amount of work done by him. So as per traditional view, what we will think? It would be concluded that when the employee gets increment and his salary is as per his expectation, he'll become satisfied. But Herzberg said that when the employee gets low salary, he is dissatisfied. But increase in salary will not result in satisfaction of the employee. It will only remove dissatisfaction of the employee and put him in not dissatisfied zone. That is, the person who is not dissatisfied doesn't necessarily will become satisfied, because the factors which affect the satisfaction and dissatisfaction of a person are completely different. Now the same concept goes with satisfaction. For example, if an employee feels good or satisfied when his job is appreciated. So the same person will not become dissatisfied if his job is not appreciated. That is the factor appreciation, which leads to the satisfaction of the employee. Its absence will not put the employee in dissatisfaction zone. It will simply lead to the employee go in the zone of no satisfaction, right? Because once again, the same thing, the factors which affect or which are responsible for satisfying or dissatisfying the employees are completely different. And here comes the role of hygiene factors and motivation factors. Herzberg said that it's the motivation factors which affects the satisfaction level of the employee. Its increase or decrease, that is the increase or decrease of the motivational factor at the workplace can satisfy or lessen the satisfaction and put him in the zone of no satisfaction. In the same way, the hygiene factors are responsible for dissatisfaction of the employee. Now let's understand what Herzberg meant by hygiene factors and motivation factors. As per Herzberg, hygiene factors are also called as dissatisfiers because these are the factors which are responsible for increasing or decreasing the level of dissatisfaction of an employee. So before going into theoretical part of hygiene factors, let's understand this with the help of an example so that our concept is clarified a bit. Let's take an employee who works in an organization where he has got a beautiful office, he has got a coffee machine, the washroom present in the organization is clean enough. So these factors, that is pretty office, coffee machine's presence, or the washroom which is clean enough will not make the employee extremely satisfied or motivated. However, if these things are not present, then this will certainly dissatisfy the employee. Why? Because when an organization gives job to an employee, the employee expects these things by default to be present over there. So those factors, those things which are expected by default to be present at the workplace, if those factors are missing, then it will lead to dissatisfaction of the employee. However, the presence of those factors, those default factors, will not increase or affect the satisfaction or motivation level of the employee. And these factors are called as hygiene factors. So, Herzberg said that hygiene factors are necessary to maintain a reasonable level of satisfaction in the employees. Presence of hygiene factor is not a source of extreme satisfaction or motivation as it is expected to be present by default at the workplace. Now, absence of these factors can result in extreme dissatisfaction, and the factors which were considered as hygiene factor by Herzberg were salary, job security, working conditions, company policy, personal life of the employee, and relationship of the employee with the co-workers, that is, relationship of the employee with his superiors, subordinates, and peers. So, now let's move to the motivation factors. The motivation factors are also called as satisfiers. These are the factors which affects the satisfaction level of the employee. These are the factors which are capable of stimulating employees for higher performance. The presence encourages employees to give their best, leading to higher productivity and higher morale, higher job satisfaction. When the motivation factors are absent from the workplace, or if it is not of the proper amount which was expected by the employee, even then the employees will not be dissatisfied. It's just those factors which will increase the or decrease the satisfaction level of the employee. It has nothing to do with dissatisfaction level of the employees. And these factors are growth, achievement, responsibility, work of the employee itself, advancement and recognition, because these factors boosts up, enhances the self-esteem and self-actualization needs of the employees. What are self-esteem and self-actualization needs? These are the higher order needs which I have discussed in my previous video of Maslow's need hierarchy theory. So these needs are those needs which helps in motivation as per Herzberg. So till here we are clear about the concept of two-factor theory given by Herzberg. That is, there are two factors at workplace which affects the satisfaction and motivation level of the employees, and these are hygiene factors and motivation factors. And the concept of dissatisfaction and satisfaction, which we considered in traditional view as opposite of each other, as per Herzberg that doesn't exist, because as per him satisfaction and dissatisfaction are not opposite of each other. They are completely two different dimensions. So now let's see how, with the help of these concepts, a manager at the workplace can make better use of the employees, can motivate and satisfy the employees. Right? So now let's see how Herzberg model will help the managers in motivating and satisfying the employees at workplace. So let's consider a situation where the stakeholder is dissatisfied and unmotivated. So now what can the manager do? What are the options available with him? He could enhance the hygiene factor and could provide it to the employees. Now, what are hygiene factors? Hygiene factors are those factors which are expected to be present by default at the workplace. So what will it do? When the hygiene factors are provided, the stakeholders will move from dissatisfaction zone to not dissatisfaction zone. So they will not be dissatisfied now. They are happy with the hygiene factors present at the workplace, but still they'll be unmotivated. However, now with a positive frame of mind, being in not dissatisfied zone, the employees are in a better performing zone for the managers, but still they are unmotivated. So the manager will enhance the motivation factors. Now, when the employees are with a positive frame of mind, they are satisfied with the hygiene factors, what will the motivation factor do? The motivation factor will make the stakeholders satisfied and motivated. So finally, the employees will be productive, motivated and satisfied, which the managers want the employees to be. Right? So with the help of the two factors which Herzberg gave, there are 4 combinations which are possible for the employee to be in. What are the 4 combinations? Either an employee can have high hygiene and high motivation factor, which is most expectable form for the managers. Or an employee can have high hygiene or low motivation. Here, the motivational factors can be enhanced and then the employees will become more productive. If an employee falls in the category of low hygiene and low motivation, that means he has requirement of both hygiene and motivation factors. And finally, if an employee has got low hygiene and high motivation, that means he is motivated. The only thing he lacks is the hygiene factors. That is, he is not satisfied with the default factors present at the workplace. So by working on it, he can make the employee not dissatisfied. Now let's see what are the limitations of this theory. Herzberg assumed a correlation between satisfaction and productivity, but in the research there is nothing spoken about productivity. It has been completely ignored and the major stress has been put on the two factors and satisfaction and dissatisfaction concept. No comprehensive measure of satisfaction was used. An employee sometimes may find his job acceptable despite the fact that he may hate his part of job. So nothing in clarity was spoken about this issue. This theory also overlooked situational variables and it overlooked blue-collar workforce. So with this, we come to the end of this topic, and in my next video, I'll be covering up another motivational theory, which is ARG theory. Thank you.